Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with a video on a chess composition which is simple, elegant and beautiful. A friend of mine ended up in hospital recently, thankfully nothing serious and nothing related to COVID-19, but he sent me a message that he was bored lying in bed in hospital where there was nothing to do. That is one of the good things of being a chess player, we are never bored. As my friend is a casual chess player, I decided to send him a chess puzzle. It proved to be too difficult for my friend to solve without board and pieces, but when I sent him the solution, he could see the beauty of this composition, the themes and the variations. Unfortunately, I don't know who the composer is of this little gem of a composition, but I wanted to present it to you here on Chess to Impress. It's white to play and checkmate the black king in 2 moves. There are only 4 pieces on the board, which is really the minimum for a chess composition. A position with only 3 pieces does not make a lot of sense. If you want to try for yourself, put the video on pause and see if you can do better than my friend. When we look at the position, we see that the black king is stuck in the corner, it has no moves, and that knight on a6 is also attacked by white's king. The number of possible first moves for white, which we call the key move, is limited. We can quickly see that a king move doesn't make much sense. If we take the knight, which actually was my friend's first choice, then we have a stalemate on the board. The black king is not in check but has no legal moves, so this game is a draw. Playing the king somewhere else, for example to c6, also doesn't lead to mate on the next move. Black can, for example, give a check, and then white will have to do something about the check, which means he has no time to checkmate the black king. So king moves do not work. It has to be a rook move. But which one? Well, because the number of moves is limited, let's look at all of them. Rook b8 check, of course, does not make sense. That rook just gets taken. So that is not the solution. What about rook to a7 check? Does that help? Well, then king b8 is the only move, and there is no checkmate move on the second move. We can take the knight with either king or rook, but we cannot checkmate the black king. So that doesn't work either. Let's go the other way. Let's go all the way to h7. Now we have a threat. The threat is rook h8. If black, for example, plays king b8, then rook h8 is checkmate on the second move. So that is very good. But of course, black does not have to play king b8 on the first move. And it turns out he can save himself with the move knight a6 to c7. Taking that knight with rook or king does not lead to checkmate. But what happens after rook h8? Then the knight can interpose, and yes, it gets taken, and this is checkmate, but it is made in 3 moves, not in 2, and we had to checkmate the king in 2 moves. So it turns out rook h7 does not work because of knight c7, and the checkmate is 1 move too late. So let's go back. The same logic applies to rook to g7 and rook to f7. Also then the move knight c7 saves black. What about rook to e7? Well, then also knight c7 works because rook e8 check will just be taken and white cannot win anymore. Rook to c7 of course does not make any sense. That rook just gets taken, and that leaves only one more move to look at, and that is rook b7 to d7. And now we see that this knight c7 trick that saved us a few times in a few variations does not work, because after knight c7 there is rook d8, and that is checkmate. We cannot interpose the knight. That is very nice, so rook d7 seems to be the solution. But of course knight c7 is not forced. We can play king b8, that doesn't work, rook d8 is checkmate, but we also can look at other knight moves. We don't have to play knight c7. We quickly see that a move like knight b4 or knight c5 does not work, because then rook d8 is checkmate again, but we have to look at one last knight move, and that is knight a6 to b8. And now rook d8 is not even check, let alone checkmate. But now we see the magic of this composition. The knight is now on b8, is in the way of the black king, and now the rook very elegantly switches back to a7 to deliver checkmate. And the king cannot flee to b8, as we saw in an earlier variation, because the knight is in the way. A very elegant rook maneuver from b7 to d7 and then back to a7 to deliver checkmates. So back to the start, let's look at it in slow motion. We play rook b7 to d7, that is the only move that leads to checkmate on the second move. The threat is rook d8 checkmate, which we'll see after moves like king b8, then rook d8 is checkmate, or a knight move, then also rook d8 is checkmate, apart from the knight move knight b8, and then the rook swings back and delivers checkmate on a7. And it is that last variation that my friend enjoyed a lot. I hope you did too. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.